impacts what you might do with the blades or strategy-wise. And so, from a coxswain standpoint, keeping it straight. So, it's a little crosswind. You see the wind kind of pushing over towards that starboard side, pushing from the starboard side to the port side there. So, looks like we've got a start here in UCLA with cameras on UCLA in lane 1.
That one should be.
So here, Mary,
If she's in the same position, sometimes they move around.
And then the flag goes down, and you're like, oh man, you got to rudder that action.
And this shot's a great shot with this overhead look here. You can see kind of that straight down the course. You get a sense of the coxswain steering straight or moving around. Doing a pretty good job here of handling it. As the wind pushes from starboard to port, the coxswain has to keep it just slightly turned on that rudder to keep it a great shot to get the shortest course.
That's her, right?
So as we get ready here to change camera angles, you get a sense. It looks like Washington State, maybe
that's not the last one. It could be. There's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's only 5. There's 3 more up there.
Looks like that's Minnesota doing well also in the yellow boat there, so maybe easier to recognize them. Again, the sun's a little bit tougher on this side. Syracuse in the mix there. Washington State also in the mix. Virginia. So really lanes, looks like lanes 2 to 6, the nearer lanes 2 to 5 maybe, pushing out just a bit there. But a very good start there. All 3 of those boats.
There she is.
Again,
That's her. Right there.
Ohio State, Virginia, Minnesota, all right there. And again, Washington State maybe just a little bit behind those 3. So that's a 500-meter mark at that point. It looks like times, quick times for the third varsity to get a tailwind helping as we get later in the day with the winds hopefully die down. Fun to compare those times.
Second 500, it's who's going to make the first move. The first 500 established, the middle 3 lanes, they are, keeping an eye on each other. It does seem that Washington State may be starting to make their campaign in the second 500, but then Ohio State as well, when they lengthen out and they get into that long and strong action, Ohio State now is commanding into that lead, and they've got a slight advantage over Virginia. So it is Ohio State in the lead of the third varsity A final. Virginia is hot on their heels. It's going to be really interesting, but cannot count out Minnesota in that third position. That's why the second 500 is very commanding, that you've got to just sit tall, demand those legs down, and who cares about the last 1,000? Let's get to the 1,000, hit the reset button, and then go.
Mary, it's interesting. Ohio State, most of the last two races yesterday, last evening, and this morning, Ohio State had a really good base, and I thought Ohio State was about to do that in this race. Virginia responded really well there, so those 2 boats really pushing, maybe trying to change their mental game going on. And Minnesota going right with them, so those 3 boats separated out a bit. And then you get the race for kind of 4, 5, 6. On the outside here, Syracuse are closest to us, as well as Washington State and UCLA just a couple seats back. Duke also in contact with those 3 boats as well. So as always, we see these couple different races going on. But Virginia maybe looks to snuck out to maybe a seat or 2. Ohio State and Minnesota fairly close there. But Virginia maybe just gained a little more base speed. When Ohio State started to, Virginia responded well. So getting close to the 1,000-meter mark here, just about the 1,000. And Virginia maybe pulling out to, let's say, a 3 or 4 seat in that pair of Minnesota and Ohio State.
And you got to talk about stroke rates. The UVA boat is just a little bit springier, a little bit higher, and if they can just catch that water and go with the speed of that tailwind, maybe they're making sure that it's not too heavy, too long. Because if you're too long into a headwind or tailwind, you can just, I don't want to say sluggish, but you can just miss that little spark and that little push that you need.
Yeah, I think we talk about spinning the wheels sometimes. And what you see there is, think about a bike. If you go from 12th gear to 2nd gear, just a little too fast. And that's maybe kind of a way to think about it in a tailwind. It's just a little bit quicker than I'm used to as a rower.
But it is going to be a fabulous race between Ohio State and Virginia. Those are 2. They're trading leads per drive, per finish. Now it's going to be interesting as they go into the third 500 to see, who's not going to fade. But Ohio State is charging away. Virginia is covering them. And then Minnesota still has that third position, but they've got to look all the way over to the left side of that race course, because it is Washington State is trying to hold on to Minnesota, but as we now see this drone footage, you always gotta love the drone. Minnesota does have that third position solidly right now.
Yeah, Ohio State, I thought Virginia had a good second 500, but Ohio State had a better third 500 and made that back up, it looks like. And then, as you pointed out, Washington State trying to come back on Minnesota there. So it's almost, again, pushing off at Minnesota. Doesn't want to lose contact with those first two boats.
They're really
Ohio State, maybe was a couple seats now.
Something's wrong with that other boat.
4 seats. Looks like Virginia has just about open water.
They're dying.
Look, they're going on.
So something happened with the Virginia boat. Someone got caught a deer, caught a crab there. Looks like Bassey just trying to get that back. Still stuck there a bit, so need to respond to that. Minnesota may go through them as that goes on.
And I bet she's kind of hopping down a bit. I bet that crab pushed her off her seat, and now she has to recover that seat. But now it's full tilt boogie. The adrenaline is high for the Virginia boat. They have now all 8 oars moving. Minnesota had that advantage now. They're in that second position, and Virginia is just about a seat ahead of Washington State. Now they're going to have to charge back to get Minnesota, but they've got almost a full boat length to now recover.
Yeah, I think Washington State may be moving on Minnesota as well on the left side of the screen. And so when you have, we call it a crab when somebody gets their oar stuck in the water. That looks like she's about to have it again there too. These conditions a little bit tough for especially the younger rowers that are likely in the third varsity 8. So that's the challenge you face there, and it's just trying to recover and respond to it. Now you see that Minnesota has a little bit of that as well. So it's just the conditions
they're novices too.
Yep, that's why circle, circle, circle. Sit tall, and yep, Minnesota on that starboard side is getting just a little bit in too much contact with the water, but it is Ohio State is sitting, maybe that long and strong rhythm is best, because here they cross the line first.
And Washington State and Minnesota really tight there. Washington State looks to be second. Minnesota, they're third, and it looks like by eye, UCLA, Virginia, and Syracuse in that order. Again, that little mishap with the water made it challenging, and Duke coming through in 7th. So it's amazing in a race like this. We talked about you show up and what happens, but you might move from 2nd to 5th just with a couple challenging strokes.
They don't have buses that can take